Hi, and welcome back. I just finished a phone conversation with my sister when, in the middle of our conversation, I realized that I had never told her the whole story. Somehow, we got on the subject of our experiences with the births of our daughters. If you remember, my very first YouTube video was me telling the story about my birthing experience with my daughter. If you remember, during that process, I was hospitalized for 6.5 weeks and ended up having an emergency C-section and subsequently ended up having life-saving hysterectomy. Now, when I was talking to my sister, I realized that I had never told her those details. And that in that moment, I realized that, wow, I still had been hiding and experiencing some shame and guilt associated with that experience. And it really made me want to come on and share this video, because what I realized just in the few moments that I've had to reflect on that conversation is that there is a lot of shame and guilt associated with the mothering process, with pregnancy, and the way that many women experience birth. And in that conversation with my sister, it hurt to know that, one, I felt like I had to hide my experience from her, but two, it hurt me to also think about many of the other women that are going in the direction that my pregnancy went in, or those that are trying to conceive and really want to become mothers and want to be pregnant. So I just wanted to share some of the things that I learned after 3 years later, after going through that experience. The first thing that I learned is that no matter what situation you experience in your pregnancy, birthing, and parenting journey, shame and guilt are going to be equal opportunity employers. There's always an opportunity for shame and guilt to peek their heads into your situation. Wanting to become a parent, becoming pregnant, and actually being a parent or adopting or taking care of children is a God-given gift and a God-given task. And in order to freely and effectively walk in that calling and to walk in that life, you need to be guilt-free. You need to be free from the condemnation and shame that comes along with not having the same experience as someone else, or not having the same type of children as someone else, or not having the journey that you always envisioned for yourself. For me, I had always wanted to be a parent. Like I mentioned to you, I'm the oldest of 9 children, and I knew that I wanted to be a parent. I knew that I wanted to grow up and create a different legacy from the life that I experienced. I wanted my family and my children to have a better life, to have a better experience, and to experience some of the basic things that I believe all children should have a privilege of experiencing. But along the way in my journey, there was tragedy, heartbreak, difficulty, and almost lost my life. And even though I had nothing to do with most of that journey, I still felt guilt and shame. So for example, after I left the hospital and after I had my daughter, she was born 2 months early, I felt guilty and ashamed when I got out of the hospital because I was supposed to still be pregnant. And somehow it was a shameful thing to not be pregnant. And if any of my sisters out there is experiencing that kind of shame about not being able to get pregnant, or you're seeing your friends get pregnant, or if you've lost pregnancies and lost children through miscarriage or different pregnancy difficulties, I just want to encourage you that none of this is your fault, and none of this is okay, and none of this is by design. My encouragement to you is to not give up on hope. I wanted and I desire to have more than one child. And that opportunity for me in the natural was stolen from me. And I don't feel sad about it anymore. I used to feel sad and angry and all the negative emotions that you can imagine about something like that being stolen from you. But now I realize, one, why that happened to me. And then two, I realize that there is an opportunity for me to pour into what's been given to me, but to also steward the lives of children that are in my life. Children of my friends, children of my neighbors, children that I get to encounter because of the work that I get to do. And if I allow myself to walk and live in shame and guilt, those other children that are going to come into my world will never benefit from the motherly gift that God has put inside me. And if you allow guilt and shame to reign in your heart, the children that are in your present and future will miss out on the opportunity and the gift that you are. And sis, I know it's hard. Sometimes it's gut-wrenching. And sometimes you just want to yell and scream and be angry. And all of that is okay, and all of that is to be expected. But at the end of the day, when you're done with the emotions, I want to encourage you to know that that desire to become a mother was given to you from the divine. And there are special gifts that are inside you that are designed to be imparted into the next generation. And until you see your dream manifest, my encouragement to you is to be what you need and to fully occupy the space that is given to you now. And you might say to me, Ladella, what do you mean steward what's been given to me and occupy the space that's been given? This is what I mean. Take me, for example. I have one child and desire to have more children. But until I can do that, what I've decided to do is to pour into the lives of my friends' children. What I've decided to do is advocate for children's issues that are important to me, to advocate and stand up for children who don't have a voice or who don't have advocates. And I've decided to let go of all the pressures associated with being a mother, all the pressures of saying, this is what you should do if your child does this, or this is what you should feel when your child does that. I've decided to let all of those things go and trust the Spirit of God that has gifted me and prepared me to love my child and to be fully present with what He has put in my hands until this day. Now, I know that doesn't feel exciting and it doesn't feel romantic, but this thing is, I can be definitely certain of that until my situation changes, I'm still going to have to walk out the path that's been placed before me today. And that's what I want to encourage you to do, to walk out the path that's been placed before you today, and to know that you are not forgotten, to know that you're not cursed or forsaken, to know that you are every bit of a woman that God created you to be, and there is nothing wrong with you. That even though your body may not be responding the way that it should, you are still God's original design and masterpiece. And there is still so much that you have to offer to this world. And remember, any thought that you have that makes you think about, what is someone else thinking about me? What are they going to think when they see me? Oh, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't do that. All of those thoughts are rooted in guilt and shame, and those are not your voices. I'm going to say that again. Any thought of guilt or shame is not your voice. It is the voice of guilt and shame that is illegal in your heart and in your mind. And so please remember that guilt and shame are going to be equal opportunity employers in your parenting and mothering journey. So please never hire them. The second thing that I learned on this journey is that you have to balance and be aware of your intake of information. When I was trying to get pregnant and when I finally got pregnant, there was a real temptation to go ahead and buy every book, watch every video, ask all of my friends a million questions about their pregnancy journey and how their parenting is going. And it is really good and helpful to get information. But what I realized is that sometimes that information can add onto the guilt and shame that's going to naturally come on this journey. One thing that really became very clear to me, for example, when I attended the Congressional Black Caucus that I mentioned in my first video, was all the statistics that I heard about maternal mortality rates, and specifically maternal mortality rates for Black women. Now, if you can imagine, I identify as a Black woman, and hearing statistics like Black women are 6 times more likely to die from birthing complications was not encouraging to my heart. But at the same time, I had the temptation to do some research, to find out why, to ask questions, and just to fill my mind with as much information as I could about that one statistic. But if you can imagine, had I done that, can you imagine the level of fear and torment that it would have boggled my mind? Also, it would have caused me to box myself into this picture of a woman that probably does not exist and is definitely not in alignment with my experience. So what I learned is, if there's information that I want to add to the instinct about my journey that God has given me, then I will do it. But if I want to fill my head with information because I have some fear or because there's a lot of uncertainty or even tormenting thoughts that's bugging my mind, my first step is to not go and do research. My first step is to go and pray. Now, I understand that prayer feels like a really spiritual thing, and many of you might not practice prayer. But I have to be honest with you. Prayer changes you. As a mother, as a parent, going through pregnancy and parenting journeys and experiences, everything is up for grabs. Everything can be unpredictable. Everything can go not according to your plan. And you need something that is higher than you and above you to help you get through some of those journeys, to help you make it through some of the situations that you might face, and to help you make it through the fears that are trying to torment you. Another human being's information is going to be good and helpful, but at the end of the day, in order to purge the fear, in order to purge the torment, you're going to have to seek something that is above you. And I know, again, that this may not be a normal part of your practice, but if you want me to be honest with you, this is from my heart to your heart. You need a higher power to overcome some of the things that are going to try to attack you. Because that's one of the things that I realized in my journey. Statistics say all these things about women and pregnancy and their likelihood of having complications and their likelihood of dying or coming near death like myself. And those things have been experienced by so many women. And it is very unfortunate, and in my heart of hearts, I refuse to accept it because I think this cannot be how it's going to be. And so one way that you can protect yourself is to not go directly to the internet and start Googling what happens when you're spotting during your third trimester, or what happens when it feels like bubbles but you don't feel any kicking. Avoid that. Give peace an opportunity to reign in your heart first. And if you want to get information, contact your doctor. If you must get information, but please resist the temptation to get online and start buying every book under the planet on pregnancy, because it's going to produce more guilt and more shame than you can handle. And the third thing that I learned on my pregnancy and motherly journey is that you have to take everything one day at a time. When facing off with disappointment, when trying to become pregnant or being pregnant or dealing with your children, like I said, you can't predict what everything is going to look like. You can't predict what your journey is going to be. And you definitely cannot compare your experience to your friend's experience, because that's going to lead to more disappointment. So what I learned is to take every day one step at a time, to be grateful and thankful for the day that I have today. I desire more children. I desire to be pregnant again. But like I said at the beginning of this video, I decided to focus on the things that have been put to my hand today, to be grateful for what I have today, to walk and fully occupy what I have today. And yes, I make plans for the future that I desire and the future that I hope to see, but my hope and my joy and my peace is in the now. Because in reality, you all that we have is this moment right here and right now. We're not guaranteed the next moment. And what happens when we don't take our lives and these journeys one day and one step at a time, we get so caught up in the future and what we want to see happen and what we want to do, that we miss the blessings in the now, that we miss the opportunities in the now. And if you stop for a minute and look around your room and look around in your space, no, it's not perfect. No, it might not look like how you thought it should look, but you are here. You are alive. You have this moment to say thank you. You have this moment to give again. You have this moment to smile again. You have this moment to laugh again, to hug again, to embrace again. So I encourage you to take your journey one step and one moment at a time. And when you do that, you'll find more things to be grateful for. You'll find more moments of opportunity, of joy and peace, and of gratitude, just by simply taking your days a moment at a time, a moment at a time, step by step, step by step. Even if you need to have someone holding your hand moment by moment, that's okay. Just be present in the now. So I just wanted to come on and share a few of the things that I've learned on my motherly journey, on my faith journey about having more children. And I want to encourage you all to be encouraged, to know that all is not lost, to know that the future that you envision may look a little bit different from the reality that you experience, but I guarantee you it's going to be better if you don't give up and if you don't lose your hope and lose your heart. And just like I always tell you, if you start with the heart work first, everything else after will become easier. Be encouraged, and I'll see you next time. Bye.